Yeah. Yeah. No, that's, I don't want to, I don't want to have to come back to it. Yeah.
Can everyone turn on their cameras? It looks like Rick, yours is on, but looks like everyone else's cameras are off. Are you guys able to turn on cameras?
How do we do that, Vanessa? I'm poking it, but I don't see anything happening.
Here, I'll come. Okay, did you get something pop up? I asked you to start
The
it.
host has asked you to start your video, and I'll put okay.
Yes,
There we are.
yes. Thank you.
Now I lost you.
Well, I can see you.
Okay. You're just a little snowman in the middle of my screen. There you are.
All right, if you guys are ready to start, everyone is on and ready. We don't have any attendees at this time.
Okay, we'll bring the meeting to order. And do we have to mention about our closed session?
That will be in the agenda. So right now we'll just call to order and flag salute, and then we'll do the report of any actions on number 2.
All right. Vanessa, do your call to order.
Okay, Chairman Nelson,
Here.
Vice Chair Short,
Here.
Director Erler,
Here.
Director Kelly. Director Kelly, I see you here. Okay, Director Gregorio.
Here.
Okay.
Okay, Joe, would you like to lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge the allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you, Joe. Okay, report of any actions from closed session by the Board of Directors. Basically, we had a meeting, we discussed some things, but we can't really,
There was
We can't-
no report out of closed session.
yeah.
No report out of closed session.
Right. Okay, is there anyone from the public out there that would like to say something at this time?
There is no public participants at this time, Chairman Nelson.
Okay, then we're gonna drop down to item 4, consent calendar. Item 4.1, approved minutes of the regular meeting of July 12th, 2021.
So if Chairman Nelson, if you want to read both items on the consent calendar, 4.1 and 4.2, we can adopt those both together after we open it up for public comment.
We have the item 4.1 was approved minutes of the regular meeting of July 12th, 2021. And item 4.2 is approval of warrant claims for period covered July 2021.
And we have no public comment or participants at this time, so we're able to make a motion now.
I make a motion that we adopt 4.1 and 4.2, the minutes and the claims report.
Do I hear a second to that?
I second it.
Okay, first and second, any discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye. Opposed? Motion carried. We drop down to item 5, new business. Take action as necessary. Item 5.1, conduct a public hearing for the 2021-2022 final physical budget. Recommendation, receive staff report. Chief, you've got,
All right. So each year, the Crescent Fire Protection District Board of Directors is tasked with adopting the operating budget for the fiscal year to provide fire protection and other emergency services. Final adoption has occurred historically in August. You will find the proposed fiscal 2021-2022 district budget as attachment 1 in this packet. This proposed budget is for a total of $664,396 and represents both direct district expenditures as well as the shared expenditures with the city of Crescent City for the funding of Crescent City Fire and Rescue. A public hearing is required for the adoption of the 2021-2022 fiscal year budget. And it should be noted that Current anticipated revenues for the district in fiscal year 2021-2022 are estimated at $935,803, and anticipated expenditures currently are $664,396. And the larger than normal revenues does reflect the $421,000 in change from the assessment once it gets applied. That amount may adjust, and we'll be able to deal with that as we go toward the end of the fiscal year.
Okay. Do we have anyone out there in the public now that would like to say something?
So we just need to open it for the public hearing, and
Right.
so we're doing that now, and it looks like there's no one in the public. So if you want to, Chairman Nelson, you can close the public hearing session.
Okay, being there's no one out there to say anything for the public, at this time we will close public hearing and we will ask for board discussion. Any discussion?
I can provide, well, the board's reviewing the budget, going down through the items. I'll just kind of breeze through them. Household expenses did go up.
Sorry, Chief, real quick, is that going to be for the next item, 5.2 is when we actually do the review of the budget?
We could, either
Okay.
way.
You just have the staff report for that one, so I wasn't
Not a
sure.
problem. Thank you, Vanessa. It saves energy.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Hey, Vanessa, I do have a question, and I don't know if I should wait till, but when they're bringing up the increases that they're proposing on the tower with AT&T and Singular, is this a good time to talk about that now, or you wanna wait?
That will be on item 7.2, so we will go over that and we can address.
Yeah, we'll go over
any
that
questions
directly
at that time.
as its own item.
Okay,
Oh, Jim, you're muted. Let me,
Okay, any other discussion then
yeah.
on item 5.1?
I have a question.
Mhm.
Okay,
We can hear you.
Well, I'm just curious, what's the biggest difference between the estimated and the anticipated expenditures? How did that happen, or why is it the way it's?
We were waiting to see if the benefit assessment passed, and now that the benefit assessment has passed, we are allocating money for a cleaning crew is one of them. But Chief Gillespie, I know, is going to go over each one of those line items here on the next line in the agenda on 5.2.
Okay.
any other discussion? If not, we'll move to item 5.2, review and adopt resolution number 21-003. Resolution of the Board of Directors of Crescent Fire Protection District adopting the 2021 through 2022 final physical budget. Recommendation, Chief, receive staff report.
All right, so I'm not going to repeat the same staff report that you just got for the public hearing, but what I was going to do is go down, hit a couple of items within the budget itself. You'll see the item 2,140 or 2140 household expenses is going up. Over the course of this last year, we have distanced ourselves from the previous maintenance person position because that position was going to go away with the master plan anyways. We took a look at that. The crews have taken on some of the tasks, but what we found is that we did need to bring in somebody to help do some of the station cleaning until the time comes that we actually have a staffing program and personnel further down the road. It came in at a cost of about $5,200. That's a deep clean of the office, which has not occurred in a period of time. the office, the main room, all the restrooms. We've been trying to keep up with it, but in with the other tasks, it doesn't happen. So that cleaning crew, 5,250, that's for the annual cost, which was far less than what the district paid in their share for the maintenance person. We do have the new roof planned for Washington Station. We're finalizing the other bids on that as we go through currently. We had a little bit of a reduction on the professional services because the engineer's report and some of those items aren't in this year's budget. We don't have that consultant work. We do have some county services and like the cost of the recount that's being tied into that. As we go through, the department allotment is growing because of the anticipation of having some of that money that's going to carry over toward the tail end of the year. Let's see. The assessment fees on the revenues, you'll see a fairly substantial jump. And remember, that maintains the 1987 assessment as revenues continuing to come in. The 2006 assessment will go away, and the 2021 assessment, everything lines through, will come back to us as revenues. The additional amount that will come to us above what the expenses, if you recall, when we went through and we conducted the master plan, they looked at a 10-year period. That 10-year period included increased stipends for the shift staffing program, the discussion of 3 paid firefighters or operators to be able to help that program, a number of things over that 10-year block. But if you remember, the consultant, when they ran the numbers and the engineering firm, they took the overall for that 10 years and they averaged it. So at the beginning of it, we're going to bring in more than what we need, which offsets the tail end of that 10 years. As those numbers sort of flip, the amount that's gone into reserve and the allotment then starts going out to help cover those costs later. Outside of that, if there's questions between Vanessa and I, we'll help provide those answers.
I've got a question, Chief. On the house cleaning expense there, how many days a week are we looking at that?
So right now with that amount, that's currently budgeted. They'll come in and do an initial deep clean, and then that is a once a week. We're gonna evaluate it. And if we feel that there's a need to go to a 2 times a week, then we'll bring that back to the board for review and approval.
And that is only for indoors, no outdoors, no
Yes,
lawn.
that's only indoors. They don't do any of the landscaping or anything like that.
Hey, I think that's a good start.
Okay, hey, Chief.
Yeah.
What is the breakdown 234 and 500, 3,500 and 234 professional services and allotment? I forget how this works.
Okay, which line are you on, Director Kelly?
Okay, 234.
Okay.
One of these is y'all's wages and whatnot, I think.
Yeah.
But
And
3,500 department allotment.
Okay, so the department allotment over there on 30500, that is essentially our reserve.
Okay, cool.
That's what's held. The professional services city under 20234 on the first page, that's the wages and benefits. There includes the district's portion of wages and benefits, which for Vanessa and I went from call-based about 70% to a 50-50 split with the city.
And then that covers all of the shared cost items. That's a lot of the shared cost equipment. That ends up covering going into the items, like we're trying to work to do some recruitment and retention work. That helps include that. Ultimately, that'll help with, or that'll be the place that like the shift staffing program will go into, shared costs on future other employees, that sort of thing.
Okay, that's what I was wanting to see there.
Okay.
Okay, any other comment from the board members?
Well, I've got a question. On item 2297 for fuel, it shows $0. Is that because the fuel is purchased through the city?
Yes, it's a split with the city, yes.
And how much do we pay the city for the fuel?
It's a 50-50 split. Let me pull up the budget and I can see exactly how much it is.
Okay,
I'll actually share it on the screen so you guys can see the city budget as well.
all that is chief.
Yeah.
Give me a second here.
Okay, if that's a 50-50 split, that's probably the best thing we got coming from the city
Right,
in regards to our volume compared to their volume. That's a win
right.
there.
Vehicles to vehicles.
Exactly.
And we
Okay,
don't say too much about that.
so if you guys look here, we'll go down to fuel right here. Oh, I'm sorry, it's not a 50-50 split. It's based off call volume. I apologize. So we
Okay.
pay roughly, I mean, we budgeted for 17,000 and they pay 7,000.
So they're paying 714.
So you can see this is the district share over in this column, so you can see the different items and how they're split. There's still a few left that are split according to call volume, like the volunteer stipend pay. The fuel. Janitorial supplies. So this is what we're paying for. The total is $404,779 for the professional services city line.
So that ratio on fuel now that we were just looking at, is that just the chief's fuel, not the engine's fuel?
That's all the fuel. Yeah.
All the fuel, okay.
And that
Any,
has been one in past years that when fuel prices were down, I know the the city talked about, well, can we reduce that? And as Vanessa knows, when we sat in those meetings, that's one that I've never let them reduce, because sooner or later fuel was going to go to $5 a gallon, and there we are.
And we rather project at a higher amount than to be under. And I mean, we projected to where we would have $58,000 in revenue for this last fiscal year, and we actually came in at 108 or around 108,000 for revenue for this last fiscal year. So we're definitely trying to cut as much as expenses as we can and watch the budget as carefully as we can.
Do they have to make less runs to Burger King? Okay, any other discussion about the public? Anyone out there in the public got anything to say?
There appears to be no public comment at this time, Chair Nelson.
Pardon me?
There's no public comment at this time,
Okay.
Chairman Nelson.
Okay, so we're gonna consider and adopt resolution number 21-003, resolution of the Board of Directors of the Crescent Fire Protection District adopting the 2021 through 2022 final physical budget. Do I have a motion for that?
I make a motion to accept it.
Okay, motion has been made. Do I hear a second?
I second.
Any discussion? No discussion? All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 5.3,
Uh,
review.
I'll just take
Yes.
a poll vote at this time
Oh,
before we move
okay.
on. real quick, sorry. Chairman
Okay.
Nelson,
Yes.
Vice Chair Short,
Yes.
Director Erler,
Yes.
Director Kelly,
Yes.
Director Gregorio.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, item 5.3, review and discuss amendment to tower and ground space lease from new singular wireless at AT&T.
Really?
Chief, you want to fill us in on that, or
You
Vanessa?
bet. So the background on this, Crescent Fire Protection District has been in a lease agreement regarding some of the northern cell tower and ground space at Washington Station since May of 2003. That agreement originated with Edge Wireless and is now with new Singular Wireless, who's a successor in interest to Edge Wireless LLC, and with AT&T as their carrier. New Singular Wireless has contacted the district and desires to place a generator assembly to provide emergency power for the cell equipment for AT&T. Their proposed site plan and agreement are attached, and we'll go to that in a minute. New Singular Wireless is requesting to place a generator on the east side of the precast concrete equipment shelter, which is housing another carrier's equipment, and carry lines to the AT&T prefab equipment shelter on the west side of the fenced area. To accomplish installation, it is proposed by the contractor will be required to move the east fence further east into the asphalt lot and adding an area measuring 3 feet by 18 feet to the current fenced enclosure. New Singular Wireless has proposed an increase to the current lease of $100 per month. It should be noted that the other carrier sharing that site and cell tower worked with the district in September 2020 to add an emergency generator for their equipment. They utilized a pre-existing concrete slab within the existing enclosure and did not change or increase the existing fencing or footprint, and provided $100 per month lease agreement increase. Because of the increase to the overall lease area footprint and the decrease in the parking lot area for use, the district may wish to consider a counter to the current rental increase proposal. The current anticipated annual revenue increase for the district with the agreement as proposed would be $1,200 a year if the district approves the current draft agreement to allow installation of the generator. This revenue amount is the same as the other company currently provides for the use of a pre-existing slab within the original fenced location. The attachments, the first piece of it is the proposed agreement. You'll have to thumb a little ways back and you're going to see an actual site plan of the location. It looks like an AT&T set of plans, kind of looking like this. So go partway into your packet. And the third page of that packet gives the best layout of what they're proposing to do.
If you give me a moment, I'll pull that up for you.
Okay, thanks,
Look on the
Vanessa.
screen.
And it'll be the one that looks like this,
Okay.
like page 3.
Okay, Chief, can you please tell me if this is the correct page you're looking at?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Yep, that's the one we're looking for, Vanessa. So as you can see from this and from the description I read, the generator that's got the blue numbers on it, yeah, right there. That's what they're proposing to install. In order to do that and to maintain a 3-foot service radius around it, they're gonna have to bump out where Vanessa's cursor, little hand cursor is going back and forth. And their proposal is to bump out 3 feet by an 18-foot north-south swatch there. What that does is that takes us from a 21-foot wide driveway to about an 18-foot wide driveway and turnaround down there at that end. But for consideration, up at the top of that particular page, a little further up, you can see where it says diesel generator other carrier right there. That was the action in September of 2020 that brought $100 increase per month. I think they're being proactive by wanting to get the generators in place. I just with this one, with the amount of usable ground, and it's an area that we flow water or we turn vehicles around sometimes.
Is that in our space or is that in county space?
I believe it's still our space, Chair Nelson, where the outside edge of the parking lot is.
Yeah, that's on our side, Jim.
Yeah.
Okay.
I honestly, the way these cell companies are working, I mean,
Yeah.
to give that space up, I think we ought to go back to them and see if we can get a complete enclosed fence in the back,
Mm-hmm.
and on top of that, they're gaining some of our property. I think we need to raise that, at least to a $350, $400 a month on, to make it equitable for us.
Mm-hmm.
Because these cell towers, more and more, their rates and what they're charging is way up there. So I don't think if we were to ask them, for an increase would be a big deal, but I think would be a good opportunity to completely enclose and fence the backyard, as we move on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's worth asking for more. They can always come back and barter with us, but I'm quite sure they're offering us a very low price and hoping that we'll take it without any rebuttal. But I'm with Joe. I think we should go back and ask for more.
Right. And that's essentially what we were looking at with this is, district board direction on which way to approach it. And it seemed like they were grabbing onto what the past one did. And the past one used an existing pad that wasn't being used and didn't alter the footprint at all.
Right. And then what are they paying for their piece?
They're paying $100 a month to use the existing pad.
Okay.
Yeah. And like I say, that didn't involve changing.
Yeah, we didn't lose any more property. Now we're
No.
losing property.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, that's worth asking more.
Right. I think, with asking more, I think it's worthwhile, see if, since they're going to be building the fence, to completely enclose our back, for safety reasons and.
Right.
And I think you're not looking at a very big number. I looked at that before and it's
Right.
less than a couple $1,000s to make that improvement.
Absolutely. I can counter back to them tomorrow and see what they come back to us with.
So Joe, just to be clear, you need to fence off this existing area right here.
The whole complete from the corner of the building to where the chain link fence is, and then put a gate in the back to completely enclose the back property.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then what's the board's thoughts on how much to ask them?
I think we ought to start at 500.
Yeah, it won't hurt. They'll come back.
Mhm.
They'll come back and count.
They'll make an offer.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
think 5's probably a little high, but hey, I'd rather start there than, maybe we can meet in the middle somewhere. Do we have to vote on that, or is that something, Chief, that you can just go back and say, hey, the board talked about it? And
Yeah, we can, you're providing direction and we can go back to them and reach back out and start the discussion with them.
yeah, no, I think it's well worth it. They're making good money with that tower, and you can rest assured that they're gonna be raising their rates if they're putting in a generator that's costing them money.
Man, I'm already paying 300 a month to AT&T.
Mhm.
Yeah, so, yeah, we might as well get part of it. We're giving them a good deal. All right, any other discussion from any of the board members on that? If not, Chief, go back to them and see what they've got to say.
Will do, and we'll bring the information back when they counter back.
Super, sounds good.
You bet.
Moving on to item 6, old business. Do we have anything to talk about for old business? If not, we'll move on to item 7, Chief's report. Okay, Chief?
All right. So for responses that occurred for the month of July, for the district, we had a total of 79 calls for service. For the city, we had a total of 37 for a low call number of 116 for the month. Breaking that down, the district ran to 33 medical related calls. District had 13 fires, and then there were 33 other type calls, anything from gas leaks, arcing lines, that sort of thing. A number of unauthorized burning calls, either for control burns or small transient trash type fires. Basically, adding the city's breakdown of the same type, they had 17 medicals, 9 fires, 11 others. We had a total of 50 medical calls, 22 fire calls, and 44 other type calls for the month. And I think we've seen a nice decrease because of the proactive work that we set in motion at the beginning of the year to curtail the unnecessary type medical calls with dispatch. And then during the month, we reinforced that because they've had quite a bit of turnover in dispatch, and reinforced that and shared the matrix that we operate under again. And if we're missed dispatch, we correct them on the dispatch so that we're going to the appropriate calls. The next item, the revenue review and discuss proposed rate change for professional services with Del Norte County Assessor's Office and the Tax Collector's Office. Honestly, I think part of it, our assessment spurred them to look internally at the Assessor's Office, the Tax Collector's Office, and at the Auditor Controller's Office. And knowing that they've got quite a bit of work ahead of them as our assessment is imposed and goes over. I've spoken with the assessor, and Vanessa's been in a meeting with the assessor. They're on board. They're going to take on the lists and the information based on our assessment and move it forward so that they can apply it. But one of the things that they looked at within the assessor's office is every one of the fire districts had a different percentage that was applied to them. Our overall percentage was a 4.3% amount that they took from Crescent Fire Protection District at the assessor's office to impose the assessment. Fort Dick was seeing a 17.8%. Klamath 7.10. Smith River was 6.3, and Gasky Fire Protection District was 5.7. And they went through and they reviewed what they were doing. And like in our case, they're gonna see a whole bunch of new entries that they've got to do. They've got to update basically all of the applicable parcels within our fire district. And they said to enter new ones cost them about $10 when they ran the numbers. Well, what they're doing at the assessor's office is, rather than have all these different formulas that apply differently to everybody, what they're going to do is they want to take it back so that all the fire districts pay the same amount. They pay 5%, and which streamlines it for their office. It streamlines it for the fire protection districts. It is going to cost us a tiny bit more. It wasn't very much in the big scheme of things. The other side of it was they looked at the tax collector, and we pay currently 5%. All of the different entities that they collect for all pay 5%. It's across the board. So what they did is they looked at and they plan to implement 5% across the board for the assessor's office. It's going to up our amount a little bit in the scheme. It's going to standardize for the other fire protection districts, and we're all going to be basically on the same page. The other piece with it is for them to collect our taxes and for the assessor to do it. It's kind of one of those that we don't really have a choice in the matter either. So this was presented at a Fire Chiefs Association meeting, and we talked with them. We told them before anything can happen, because they were talking about bringing back agreements for all the fire protection districts. We told them, well, we're gonna need an agreement. We got to bring it before the board so that the board is aware of it and understands it. And then they haven't gotten the agreement back to us yet. So that would be something that we'll still have to bring back to the board for formal action once we've got that draft agreement. But basically they're pushing to standardize under the assessor's office the same way the tax collector treasurer's office has been for a number of years.
Okay.
So wanted to share that with the board, that there will be a draft agreement coming. We haven't seen it yet, but I can understand from their end wanting to standardize it. And to a degree, I guess you could look at it and say it's a cost of doing business.
And just for the board to know, we put that in our final budget that you guys just adopted, and it comes to about $56,000 that it will end up costing the district for those services.
So that's what we're paying. Is that what we're paying now, or is that basically?
That's what we will be paying now with the new benefit assessment that we'll be receiving, the additional revenue of $421,000.
Okay, they're not
They
cheap.
they definitely get their cut out of it.
Yeah, I would say
Yeah.
definitely.
They do a lot of work on their end, so I think it's very justified that, and they're raising any of the increases. So I feel like for them to keep that same percentage rate for so long is, it's pretty good on their part.
Good.
Yeah, it's still keeping the cost fairly low in the big picture.
It just sounds like a lot on our end because we're receiving so much more revenue now.
All right, any discussion from board members? If not, we'll move on to item 7.3, the COVID update. Chief, can you want to fill us in on that?
Yeah, I just wanted to share with the board, and you have probably heard it as well, that we are having a surge in COVID cases here in the county again. They opened up. Of course, we saw the the fair this weekend. You know, the COVID cases have jumped up, and where it's hitting our community the heaviest right now is at the hospital. Currently, as of today, they've got 17 hospitalized at Sutter Coast in the ICU or in various rooms. Hospital staff and the county reached out to the state for assistance. They did receive more ventilators because they had taxed what they had available in Delmark County. Right now today in the county, there's 231 active COVID cases, including some are folks that were vaccinated previously, but have tested positive again. What they're seeing with it so far, they're referring to as the Delta variant. For folks that have been vaccinated, it doesn't seem like it's hitting them across the board as hard as unvaccinated or like in the past that was hitting folks. The county's up to 10 deaths that have been diagnosed as COVID. And I think on our part, from the fire department standpoint, we have not relaxed back from requiring N95 masks on medical responses. We're maintaining that for the safety of our folks. And I think it's probably as much as the Zoom meeting gets very old, I think it's prudent on our part to continue with the meetings, at least for a short period of time, as a Zoom option, until it appears they get a handle on this side of it. You know, it's the group of us, the 7 of us are in the building spread out right now, but we're not bringing a whole lot of public members in, interfacing in the same room. And I think the city council was going to go live next week, and they've pulled back from it, as have the board of supervisors for a period of time. And so I know I got the question about, you know, are we going to be live or are we going to be Zoom? And just from the aspect of trying to protect everybody here, we opted to go with Zoom for just a little bit longer. So I hope the board understands that, and that's what's behind it.
We won't hold it against you, Chief.
Thanks a bunch. And I know Director Gregorios is seeing this a lot with his end. I don't know if you, Joe, have any additional information on what you guys are seeing or hearing from your professional side.
I mean, it's the same, the unknowns. I mean, the cases are way up, you know, nationwide and getting worse. I know what the report from Sutter Coast, you know, 50% of med surge and 100% of patients that were in ICU were COVID positive. I mean, we're between here and Humboldt County, we're transporting 8-10 patients a day that are, you know, COVID patients that are positive. And, you know, probably about 90% of them have not been vaccinated. And that's one of the biggest risks. And with the numbers going up in Humboldt County, I mean, here in Delmark County, I mean, it's pretty concerning, you know, to have the 230 cases. Now they had the fair and everything else that's going on. So you know, I'm, as the chief and I were talking earlier, I'm a little bit concerned about what's about to come, and with the winter coming, you know, there's a lot of concerns. And I think also, you know, with our responses, you know, we've had quite a few people backing off from responding, which we're responding to with either a chief or 1 or 2 individuals. So our responses have been cut way back. And I think, you know, for that reason as well, that people don't really want to be around folks that are unknown, especially with the medical transport. So I think, you know, we need to kind of keep looking at that, because it doesn't look good when we've got one or 2 folks responding to these calls. So, but I don't think there's anything good to come out of it. And as Chief said, that we've been pretty fortunate and lucky within the department as we're in the N95 masks, fully masked up, and we're taking some pretty serious precautions, and it kind of shows what we've done to date. So we just need to kind of keep going along and keeping the morale up and keeping these folks engaged.
One thing just to add on the N95 mask side. So one of the things that we have been fortunate over the last, I don't know, 16, 17 months, we have taken advantage of the state supply train as much as we could for nitrile gloves and for N95 masks, as well as hand sanitizer. And it's been a hodgepodge of people bringing it in, but we have through the course of this, we have, coming from the state, total on masks we have brought in from the state at no cost at this point to us. We've brought in somewhere between 12 and 14,000 N95 masks, and equally above that in nitrile gloves. And so we have been proactive on getting out there, and as well as by doing that, tapping that stream, being able to keep the costs down for the district.
Good. Any other comments from the board members? Anything?
I think, Jim, one thing I'd like to bring up is you can see our call volume has dropped, and it's due to how we're managing some of these medical calls, and even with beach fires and so on. So I believe we're on the right track. I think we're probably about pushing 25% lower volume, by managing and doing what we're doing. So, you're not seeing 4 or 5 fire trucks out on the road like you did before. So I think there's been some good management and some good improving on these responses. So.
That's good, because that's probably where I get the most calls from people complaining that we have too many engines on the road. And I've basically been telling them that, hey, we've been trying to correct that problem. And a lot of it comes from when the SO calls us. If they're more trained, then it's going to help us. But them saying, hey, we're not really needed, so we don't have to roll. So that's good.
So they got to keep this.
And I think I'm with you. I think this COVID thing, we've seen more cases now in Delaware County than we have before in a whole year's time. So it definitely could get out of hand in a short little bit. We could be put back in restricted mask wearing and all kinds of stuff. So hopefully it won't get any worse than it is right now, but I think it probably will. Okay, any other comments or anything that we might want to put on the board for next month or for our next meeting?
We're going to have to start looking at personnel in the near future. Chief's not going to be here forever. I don't know if we need to go in closed session to do our part of it before we partner with the city, but I think we need to start making some plans for that.
So let me add to that discussion also, because the district doesn't have the interface or the contact with CalPERS. I've posed a question knowing that we need to go into this discussion, and Director Gregorio and I have talked about this as well. So I proposed a couple of questions over to the city so that their PERS folks are back next week, and they're gonna pose the question of being able to potentially, if it comes to it, shift out of the chief's position being from one body to another. And I know with Pepra and talking to somebody from HR that's outside of this picture, they said that PERS has cracked down on some of that. So I wanted to get a few of those answers so that we could then have a good solid closed session, knowing some of the answers. So that's in the works right now at this point, Director Kelly. And that way the district board can have a discussion on it and weigh in, because obviously as the clock ticks, it'll get closer. And it'd be good to have that figured out and planned out ahead of time.
Definitely. Okay, anything else that needs to come forward from some of the board members? Anything that you'd like to put on the agenda for next meeting? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion to
I make a
adjourn.
motion that we adjourn.
Okay,